The crystal chandelier cast shadows across my father's mahogany dining table like prison bars. I should have known what was coming when Mom insisted I wear something nice to Sunday dinner. My name is Sierra, and at 31, I'm apparently the family's greatest disappointment. Not because I'm a drug addict or a criminal. No, my sin is far worse. I'm successful, single, and childless. Pass the potatoes, Kara, Mom said, her voice dripping with that particular brand of sweetness that meant trouble. You look thin. Are you eating enough? I'm fine, Mom. She's always fine. My younger sister Delilah chimed in from across the table, her perfectly manicured hand resting on her husband Otto's arm. Career women don't have time for proper meals, do they? Otto chuckled, cutting into his prime rib. Good thing some women still understand priorities. I gripped my fork tighter. My law practice is doing well. Thanks for asking. Law practice, Dad scoffed, not looking up from his plate. Defending criminals and divorce cases. Real prestigious work there. Terrence, Mom warned, but her tone held no real reproach. Ciara works very hard. Hard work doesn't keep you warm at night, Delilah said, that fake concern coding every word. I just worry about you, sis. Don't you want a family? Children? Here we go. I set down my fork. I'm perfectly happy with my life. Are you, though? Otto leaned forward, his expensive watch catching the light. I mean, what's the point of success if you have no one to share it with? No legacy? Speaking of legacy, Dad finally looked at me, his gray eyes calculating. Your sister has some news. Delilah's face crumpled slightly, and for a split second, I saw genuine pain there. Then the mask slipped back on. We've been trying for over 2 years now. The doctors say, well, it's complicated. Complicated how? I asked, though I already suspected where this was heading. My eggs are fine, Delilah said quickly. It's just, carrying to term is the issue. The doctors think surrogacy might be our best option. The room fell silent except for the tick of Dad's antique grandfather clock. I looked around the table, at Mom's expectant face, Dad's stern expression, Otto's entitled smirk, and Delilah's carefully crafted vulnerability. That's tough, I said carefully. I'm sure you'll find someone. Actually, Mom said, reaching across to pat my hand, we were hoping it could be someone in the family. Someone we trust. My stomach dropped. Mom. Think about it, Kara. Dad's voice took on that commanding tone he used in his business dealings. You're single, healthy, and frankly, this would be the first time you've actually contributed something meaningful to this family. Contributed something meaningful? The words came out sharper than I intended. Don't be dramatic, Delilah said. We'd pay for everything, of course. Medical bills, time off work, whatever you need. It would actually be quite generous. Generous. I repeated the word like it tasted bitter. You know what I think? Otto set down his wine glass with a small clink. I think Kira's just scared. It's a big responsibility, carrying someone else's future. I'm not scared of responsibility. Then what's the problem? Dad's voice rose slightly. Your sister needs help. Family helps family. Unless you're too selfish, Delilah added quietly, just loud enough for everyone to hear. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I need some air. Sit down, Dad commanded. We're not finished discussing this. There's nothing to discuss. You want me to be your sister's incubator. That's a horrible way to put it, Mom gasped, pressing her hand to her chest like I'd physically struck her. Is it, though? I looked around the table again, because that's exactly what you're asking. We're asking you to help your family, Otto said, his voice taking on an edge. But I guess that's too much to expect from someone who's never put anyone before herself. Never put anyone before myself? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I put myself through law school while you two were playing house with Dad's money. I built my practice from nothing while Delilah was shopping for wedding dresses. And look where it got you, Dad said coldly. Alone at 31, with nothing to show for it but a law degree and an empty apartment. The words hit like a physical blow. I stood there for a moment, looking at these people who shared my DNA but felt like strangers. Worse than strangers, strangers might show basic human decency. "You know what?" I said finally, my voice eerily calm. "Let me think about it." The change in the room was immediate. Mom's face lit up. Delilah actually smiled, the first genuine expression I'd seen from her all evening. Otto nodded approvingly, and Dad looked satisfied, like he'd just closed a particularly profitable business deal. "Really?" Delilah breathed. "You'd consider it?" I said I'd think about it. I picked up my purse from the side table. "I should go." "Of course, dear," Mom said, already planning, I could tell. "Take all the time you need. This is such wonderful news." I walked to the front door, their excited chatter following me. As I reached for the handle, Dad's voice cut through the noise. "Ciara," I turned back, "don't take too long deciding. Some opportunities don't wait forever." The threat was subtle but clear. I nodded once and stepped out into the cool evening air. As I drove away from the house where I'd grown up, where I'd never quite belonged, something crystallized in my mind. They wanted me to finally contribute to the family? Fine. That night, I decided to stop being their disappointment and start becoming their reckoning. 3 days later, they ambushed me at my office. I was reviewing a contract when my assistant buzzed in. "Ciara, your family is here to see you." My family. All of them. In my professional space, where I actually commanded respect. "Send them in." Dad walked in first, wearing his best intimidation suit. Mom followed, clutching her designer purse like a shield. Delilah came next, eyes red-rimmed but determined. Otto brought up the rear, checking his phone like this was just another business meeting. "Nice office," Otto said, glancing around at my law degrees and awards. "Cozy. What can I do for you?" I gestured to the chairs across from my desk, deliberately staying behind it. Home field advantage. "We wanted to discuss the arrangement," Dad said, settling into his chair like he owned it. "Properly." "What arrangement?" "Don't play games, Kira," Mom snapped. "You said you'd think about helping Delilah." "I said I'd think about it. I didn't say I decided." Delilah's face crumpled. "But I thought, at dinner, you seemed—" "I seemed what? Eager to rent out my uterus?" "That's crude," Otto said sharply. "It's accurate." Dad leaned forward. "Let's cut to the chase. We're prepared to make this worth your while." "Worth my while how?" $25,000, he said, like he was doing me the favor of a lifetime. I blinked. $25,000 for 9 months of pregnancy, labor, and recovery. Plus medical expenses, Mom added quickly. "And we'd cover any time you need off work." "How generous." I picked up my pen, clicking it slowly. "What else?" "What else?" Delilah looked confused. "What other terms? Restrictions? Rules?" Otto pulled out his phone and started reading. "Well, obviously no alcohol, no smoking, regular doctor visits. We'd want to be involved in all medical decisions." "Involved how?" "Present at appointments," Mom said. "We want to make sure everything's going perfectly." "And diet restrictions," Delilah added. "I've been reading about prenatal nutrition. There's a whole list of foods to avoid." "A list you've prepared?" "Well, yes. I mean, it's going to be my baby." The words hung in the air like smoke. My baby. Not our baby. Not the baby. My baby. I see. I set down my pen. "And after the birth?" "After?" Otto looked genuinely confused. "What happens to me after I deliver your baby?" "You go back to your life," Dad said, like it was obvious. "Your normal life." "And we'd be so grateful," Delilah rushed to add. "We'd never forget what you did for us. Until the next family gathering where you need to remind everyone how I finally did something useful?" "Ciara," Mom's voice took on that warning tone, No, I'm curious. What happens when people ask about the baby? Do I get to be Aunt Chiara, or do we pretend I was never involved? You'd be the aunt, Delilah said uncertainly. The aunt who carried you for 9 months. The aunt who gave us the greatest gift imaginable, Otto corrected. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city below. You know, I had a case last year. Custody dispute. The biological mother wanted her child back from the adoptive parents. This isn't adoption, Dad said firmly. This is surrogacy. Completely different. Is it? Of course it is, Mom said. The baby would be genetically Delilah and Otto's. But carried by me. Born from me. Ciara, you're overthinking this, Otto said, his patience clearly wearing thin. It's a straightforward arrangement. I turned back to face them. What if I said no? The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. You wouldn't, Delilah whispered. But what if I did? Dad's jaw tightened. That would be disappointing. Disappointing how? Well, he said slowly, we've been discussing Sierra's college situation. My blood went cold. Sierra, my 24-year-old cousin, was putting herself through graduate school. Dad had been helping with her tuition, one of the few genuinely good things he'd ever done. What about Sierra's college situation? Tuition's expensive these days, he continued, and with the economy being what it is, we might need to reassess our financial commitments. You cut off Sierra's funding because I won't be your surrogate? We'd reassess our priorities, Mom said primly. Family members who support each other get supported in return. And those who don't? I asked. Otto shrugged. Well, they're on their own, aren't they? I looked at each of their faces. Dad's cold calculation, Mom's righteous indignation, Otto's casual cruelty, and Delilah. Delilah looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. So let me understand this correctly, I said slowly. Either I agree to carry your baby, or Sierra loses her college funding. We prefer to think of it as family members supporting each other, Dad said. That's blackmail. That's family, Mom corrected. I walked back to my desk and sat down. I need to think about this. What's to think about? Otto demanded. It's a simple yes or no. Nothing about this is simple. Ciara, please. Delilah spoke for the first time in several minutes. I'm begging you. This is my only chance to have a family. Your only chance? The doctor said, if this doesn't work, we might never have children. I looked at her, really looked at her. For just a moment, I saw past the manipulation and the golden child facade to something raw and desperate. I'll do it, I said quietly. The room erupted. Mom clapped her hands together. Dad nodded approvingly. Otto actually smiled. Delilah burst into tears. But, I continued, and they all fell silent, I want my own lawyer to handle the contract. That's not necessary, Dad said quickly. I can have my attorney draw something up. No, my lawyer, my contract, non-negotiable. Otto frowned. Why do you need your own lawyer? Because I'm not stupid. I met his gaze steadily. This is a legal arrangement. I want legal representation. Fine, Dad said after a moment. But nothing complicated. Just a standard surrogacy agreement. Of course. I smiled for the first time since they'd walked in. Just standard. They left my office in a cloud of excitement and self-congratulation. As soon as the door closed, I picked up my phone and dialed. Louis, it's Chiara. I need you to draft a contract. And Louis, make it bulletproof. Louis spread the contract across his conference table like a battle plan. 47 pages of legal language that would make a Supreme Court justice weep. This is beautiful work, he said, adjusting his glasses. Absolutely diabolical, but beautiful. Will it hold up? Chiara, this contract is tighter than Fort Knox. Your family won't know what hit them until it's too late. I flipped through the pages, admiring the dense legal text. Walk me through the key points again. Page 12, Section 4A. You retain all parental rights unless explicitly terminated by court order. Page 18, Section 7C. Any attempt to coerce or manipulate the birth mother voids all financial agreements. And my personal favorite, he grinned, page 31, section 12B. The trust fund clause. Exactly. Upon birth, a trust fund of $2 million must be established for the child, with you as the sole trustee until the child reaches 25. And if they refuse to fund it, then you retain full custody and they get nothing. Lewis leaned back in his chair. It's genius, really. They'll be so focused on getting their hands on the baby, they won't read the fine print until it's too late. My phone buzzed. Text from Mom. When can we sign the papers? Delilah is so excited. They're eager, I told Lewis. Of course they are. They think they're getting a bargain basement surrogate. He gathered the pages together. Are you sure about this, Kara? Once you sign this, there's no going back. I'm sure. The signing was scheduled for the following Saturday at Dad's house. I arrived to find the entire family gathered in his study, along with Delilah's best friend Mallory, who apparently needed to witness this historic moment. Finally, Mom exclaimed as I walked in. We've been waiting. Traffic, I lied, setting my briefcase down. Otto was pacing by the window. This contract is ridiculously long. Can't we just use a standard form? My lawyer was thorough, I said, pulling out the copies. He wanted to make sure everyone's interests were protected. 47 pages seems excessive, Dad muttered, flipping through his copy. It's comprehensive. Covers every possible scenario. Mallory peered over Delilah's shoulder. God, it's like reading a textbook. Can't you just summarize the important parts? The important parts are that I carry the baby, you get the baby, everyone's happy. See? Delilah looked relieved. It's just legal mumbo-jumbo. Louis had coached me on this moment. People don't read contracts when they're excited. They skim, they assume, they trust that everyone wants the same thing. Should we go through it section by section? I offered. That'll take hours, Otto complained. I have a golf game at 3. The basics are covered, right? Dad asked. Medical decisions, financial responsibilities, custody transfer, all covered in detail. Then let's sign and celebrate, Mom said, producing a bottle of champagne. This is such a happy day. I watched them scribble their signatures with barely a glance at the pages. Dad signed with his usual flourish. Mom dotted her E's with little hearts. Otto signed like he was endorsing a check. Delilah's signature was shaky but determined. Your turn, Kara, Mallory said, holding up her phone. I want to get this moment on video for the baby book. I picked up the pen, feeling its weight. This is really happening. Finally, Delilah breathed. After everything we've been through, we're finally going to have our family. I signed my name with steady strokes. The moment the pen left the paper, Mom popped the champagne. To new beginnings, she toasted. To family, Dad added. To getting what we deserve, I said quietly, raising my glass. The IVF process started 2 weeks later. I sat in the fertility clinic waiting room, surrounded by hopeful couples and women like me, though probably not exactly like me. Delilah insisted on coming to every appointment. I just want to be involved, she explained to the nurse. It's going to be my baby. Our baby, Otto corrected, squeezing her hand. The doctor, a kind woman named Dr. Martinez, went through the procedure step by step. The success rate for first-time IVF is about 40%. If this cycle doesn't work, we can try again. It'll work, Delilah said firmly. It has to work. 2 weeks later, I was staring at a positive pregnancy test in my bathroom at 6 a.m. I called the clinic, then sat on my couch for 20 minutes, just holding the test. My phone rang. Delilah. Well? She demanded before I could even say hello. It's positive. She screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. In the background, I could hear Otto whooping and Mom crying. We did it, Delilah sobbed. We're finally going to be parents. Congratulations, I said. Oh my God, I have to call everyone. Mallory's going to die. And we need to start planning the nursery, and I should probably start a pregnancy journal. And Delilah, what? I'm the one who's pregnant. A pause. Right, of course. But you know what I mean. I did know what she meant, and that was the problem. That evening, Sierra came over with Chinese takeout and congratulations. How are you feeling? She asked, settling onto my couch. Pregnant. And emotionally? I looked at my 24-year-old cousin, the only family member who'd ever treated me like a person instead of a problem to be solved. Scared, I admitted. Of the pregnancy? Of what comes after? Sierra was quiet for a moment. You know, whatever happens, you don't have to do this alone. I'm here. Even if it gets messy, especially if it gets messy. She squeezed my hand. Family looks out for family, right? Right. As she left that night, I stood at my window watching her car disappear down the street. In a few months, everything would change. The family that had spent 31 years making me feel worthless was about to learn exactly what I was worth. They had no idea who they were dealing with. By month 4, I was showing, and apparently I was doing it wrong. You need to eat more protein, Delilah announced, barging into my apartment with grocery bags. I've been reading about fetal brain development. Hello to you, too. She started unpacking organic everything onto my counter. Grass-fed beef, wild salmon, free-range eggs. The baby needs the best. The baby is getting prenatal vitamins and regular meals. Regular meals aren't enough. Do you know how crucial these next few months are? She pulled out a thick binder. I've been tracking everything. Weight gain, nutrition, exercise recommendations. You've been tracking my pregnancy? Someone has to. You're so casual about everything. I watched her organize my kitchen like she owned it. Delilah, I'm 4 months pregnant, not dying. Exactly. 4 months. Do you realize how much development happens in the second trimester? My phone rang. Mom, Ciara, dear, we need to talk about the baby shower. What baby shower? The one Delilah and I are planning. We're thinking the country club, maybe 100 guests. 100 guests for my pregnancy? For the baby, dear. Everyone's so excited to celebrate. I put the phone on speaker so Delilah could hear. Mom, I'm not sure I want a big party. Don't be silly. This is a momentous occasion. The whole family's been waiting for this. Waiting for what? For one of you girls to finally give us a grandchild. Delilah beamed. I already picked out the theme. A little miracle. Isn't that perfect? Perfect, I said flatly. The shower was held 3 weeks later. I sat in a chair decorated with pink and blue ribbons, while 100 people I barely knew cooed over my belly and handed gifts to Delilah. Oh, this bassinet is gorgeous, Delilah exclaimed, opening another present. Thank you so much, Mrs. Patterson. When are you due, dear? Mrs. Patterson asked me. December 15th. How exciting. You're first. Actually, I started. It's our first, Delilah interrupted smoothly. We've been trying for so long. Mrs. Patterson looked confused. But you're not. Shira's our surrogate, Mom explained loudly. Isn't she wonderful? Doing this for her sister. The room fell silent for a moment. Then the whispers started. Oh, how modern. How generous of her. I could never do that. I excused myself to the bathroom, where I found Mallory touching up her lipstick. This is so weird, she said without preamble. Excuse me? You carrying Delilah's baby. I mean, doesn't it feel strange? Having something growing inside you that isn't really yours? It's complicated. I bet. I mean, what happens if you get attached? That would be so awkward. She capped her lipstick. Good thing you're not really the maternal type. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, come on. You're 31 and single. If you wanted kids, you would have had them by now, right? This is probably the closest you'll ever get to motherhood. She walked out, leaving me staring at myself in the mirror. 6 months pregnant, wearing a dress that didn't quite fit, at a party celebrating a baby everyone assumed wasn't mine. I pulled out my phone and texted Lewis. How's the paperwork coming? Airtight. Trust fund documents are ready. Just need the birth certificate. Good. When I returned to the party, Delilah was opening the last gift, a silver picture frame engraved with baby's first photo. This will be perfect for the ultrasound picture, she gushed. Which ultrasound picture? I asked. The one from last week. The 3D one where you can really see the face. You mean the ultrasound I went to alone because you had a spa appointment? The room went quiet again. Delilah's cheeks flushed pink. I had that appointment booked for months, she said defensively. Right. Besides, you got copies of all the pictures. After I asked for them 3 times, Mom stepped in quickly. Let's not dwell on scheduling conflicts. The important thing is everyone's healthy. The party continued, but something had shifted. I caught people looking at me differently, whispering more quietly. By the time it ended, I was exhausted. Great party, Otto said, loading gifts into his car. Really nice turnout. You okay? You seem tired. I'm 7 months pregnant. Right. Well, get some rest. Big day coming up. Big day? The birth, obviously. Delilah's been planning everything. Private room, photographer, the works. Photographer? For the first moments. You know, when we become a family. I watched him drive away with a trunk full of baby gifts that would never see my apartment. That night, Sierra came over with pizza and found me crying on my couch. What happened? Baby shower. That bad? They had a photographer and a guest book, and Delilah opened all the gifts while I sat there like a rental womb. Sierra sat beside me. You know you don't have to go through with this, right? It's not too late to change your mind. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Surrogacy contracts can be challenged. You could... Sierra, I looked at her. What if I told you I never intended to give them this baby? She blinked. What? What if I told you that contract they signed so eagerly gives me rights they don't even know about? Chiara, what are you saying? I'm saying maybe it's time someone in this family got what they actually deserve. Sierra stared at me for a long moment. Are you serious? Dead serious. But the money for my school will be fine, better than fine. How? I smiled for the first time in weeks. Let's just say I learned a few things in law school that aren't in any textbook. 2 weeks later, I was at my final doctor's appointment when my water broke in the waiting room. The nurse rushed me into a wheelchair while I called Delilah. It's time, I said when she answered. Oh my God, we're on our way. Don't do anything until we get there. Don't do anything. Like I had a choice. As they wheeled me toward the delivery room, I clutched the folder Louis had given me that morning. Inside were documents that would change everything. When the time comes, he'd said, remember what you're worth. The time was coming. The contractions hit like freight trains. I was gripping the hospital bed rails when my family burst through the door like they were storming a castle. How far apart are they? Delilah demanded, not even looking at me. She was talking to the nurse. About 3 minutes, the nurse replied. We're getting close. Close! Mom clapped her hands together. Oh, this is so exciting. Dad stood at the foot of my bed checking his watch. How long do these things usually take? Labor varies, Dr. Martinez said, entering with a team of nurses. But we're making good progress. Otto had his phone out, filming. This is going to be such an amazing story to tell the baby someday. Could you not film me right now? I gasped between contractions. Oh, right. Sorry. He lowered the phone but didn't put it away. Chiara, dear, you're doing wonderfully, Mom said, patting my arm like I was a good dog. Just think, in a few hours, Delilah will finally be a mother. Another contraction ripped through me. Could everyone please step outside? Step outside? Delilah looked horrified. But we want to be here for the birth. This is a medical procedure, not a spectator sport. But it's our baby, Otto said. It's my labor. Dr. Martinez looked around the crowded room. Perhaps we could limit visitors to... We're staying, Dad announced. This is a family moment. A family moment that I'm experiencing alone. You're not alone, Delilah said. We're all here supporting you. Supporting me by filming and asking the nurses questions instead of asking me how I'm doing? Silence. Then Mom spoke up. Well, how are you doing, dear? I'm in labor. Right, of course. The next contraction was the worst yet. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to breathe through it. Is she supposed to make those noises? Otto whispered to the nurse. Those noises are normal, Dr. Martinez said firmly. Labor is painful. Maybe we should get the epidural, Delilah suggested. I already had the epidural. Well, maybe you need more. That's not how it works, the nurse explained patiently. I think I know what my baby needs, Delilah snapped. Your baby? I opened my eyes. Your baby is still inside me. You know what I meant. Another contraction. This one made me scream. Oh, God, Mom said, going pale. Maybe I should wait outside. No one's leaving, Dad said firmly. We've waited too long for this. Waited for what? For me to be in agony? Waited for our grandchild, he corrected. Dr. Martinez checked the monitors. We're getting close. I can see the head. The head, Delilah squealed. Can I see? Can I see the head? Ma'am, please step back, a nurse said. But it's my baby. It's my body, I shouted. The room fell silent except for the beeping monitors and my heavy breathing. Ciara, Delilah's voice was small, I just want to be part of this. You are part of this. You're just not the one doing it. I know, but nothing. I'm the one who's been pregnant for 9 months. I'm the one who threw up every morning for 12 weeks. I'm the one whose body is being ripped apart right now. So maybe, just maybe, this moment could be about me. Otto lowered his phone completely. We didn't mean, yes, you did. You meant exactly this. You wanted me to be your incubator, and now you want me to be your entertainment. That's not fair, Mom protested. Fair? I laughed, but it came out as more of a sob. Nothing about this has been fair. Dr. Martinez looked up from between my legs. I need everyone to focus. We're about to have a baby. Push, Kiara, the nurse coached. Big push. I pushed with everything I had. The pain was indescribable, but underneath it was something else. Something fierce and protective and mine. I can see the shoulders, Dr. Martinez announced. One more big push. I bore down, feeling like I was splitting in half. Then suddenly the pressure released. It's a girl! Dr. Martinez held up a tiny, screaming, perfect baby. The room erupted. Delilah was crying. Mom was crying. Otto was fumbling for his phone again. Dad was actually smiling. But I only had eyes for her, my daughter. Because in that moment, looking at her red, wrinkled face and hearing her angry cries, I knew with absolute certainty that she was mine. Can I hold her? I whispered. Dr. Martinez placed her on my chest. She was warm and slippery and absolutely perfect. Hello, baby girl, I murmured. What should we name her? Delilah asked, leaning over us. We. I looked up at her. Well, yes. We've been discussing names for months. You've been discussing names. I've been growing her. Ciara, don't be difficult, Dad warned. We had an agreement. I looked down at my daughter, who had stopped crying and was looking at me with dark, serious eyes. Yes, I said quietly. We did have an agreement. I reached for the folder on my bedside table with one hand, keeping the other firmly around my baby. What's that? Otto asked. Our agreement. I held out the folder to Dad. You should read it. Carefully this time. Dad frowned but took the folder. What are you talking about? We already signed everything. Yes, you did. You signed without reading. Big mistake. Kiara, Mom's voice held a warning. What are you doing? I'm being a mother. Dad opened the folder and his face went white. What the hell is this? That's the contract you signed, the one your lawyer should have reviewed. This says... He flipped through pages frantically. This says you retain parental rights unless terminated by court order. It does. And there's something about a trust fund? $2 million. To be established within 30 days of birth. The room went dead silent except for the baby's soft breathing. You can't be serious, Delilah whispered. I looked at each of their faces, shocked, angry, betrayed, the same way I'd felt for 31 years. I'm completely serious. But we had a deal, Otto exploded. Yes, we did. And you just discovered what it actually says. Dad's hands were shaking as he read. This is fraud. No, this is a legally binding contract that you signed without reading. There's a difference. You tricked us, Mom accused. I gave you exactly what you asked for. A contract. You chose not to read it. Delilah was staring at the baby in my arms like she was watching her dreams die. You can't do this. She's supposed to be mine. She is mine. But I can't have children. That's not my problem anymore. Ciara, Dad's voice was dangerously low, you give us that baby right now. Or what? I met his gaze steadily. You'll cut me off? Disown me? Make me feel worthless? I smiled. Too late. You already did all that. I pressed the call button for the nurse. What are you doing? Delilah demanded. Calling security. I want all of you out of my room. Your room? Otto stepped forward. We paid for this room. Actually, you didn't. Check the contract. All medical expenses are my responsibility, reimbursed by the trust fund that you're about to establish. The door opened, and Lewis walked in with 2 security guards. Perfect timing, I said. What's he doing here? Dad demanded. He's my lawyer, and these gentlemen are here to escort you out. You can't throw us out, Mom shrieked. That's our grandchild. No, I said, holding my daughter closer. She's not. Ma'am, we need you to come with us, the larger security guard said to Delilah, who was still staring at my baby like she could will her into her arms. No, Delilah's voice cracked. No, I'm not leaving. That's my baby. She's not your baby, I said, adjusting my daughter in my arms. She was perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, and lungs that worked beautifully when she wanted to make her displeasure known. The hell she's not! Otto stepped toward the bed, but the security guard blocked his path. We have a contract. Yes, you do. Lewis pulled out his own folder. And according to Section 12B, subsection 4, any attempt to remove the child from the birth mother without proper legal documentation constitutes kidnapping. Dad's face was purple. This is extortion. This is contract law, Lewis replied calmly. Something you might have understood if you'd hired your own attorney to review the documents. We trusted her. Mom's voice hit a pitch that made the baby flinch. Your first mistake, I said, stroking my daughter's cheek. Dr. Martinez stepped into the chaos. I'm going to have to ask everyone except the patient and her legal counsel to leave. This is a medical facility, not a courtroom. We're not going anywhere, Delilah said, crossing her arms. I've been planning for this baby for 2 years, and I've been carrying her for 9 months. Carrying her for us. Carrying her for me. I looked directly at Delilah. Did you really think I'd go through pregnancy, labor, and childbirth just to hand over my daughter to people who treat me like garbage? Your daughter? Delilah's voice was barely a whisper. My daughter. But the money, what money? The $25,000 you offered me? That wouldn't even cover my medical leave. Otto was frantically scrolling through his phone. I'm calling our lawyer. Good luck with that, Lewis said. It's Sunday evening, but when you do reach him, have him look at page 34, section 15A, the clause about legal challenges. What about legal challenges? Dad demanded. Any attempt to contest this contract through litigation results in immediate forfeiture of all parental claims and a penalty payment of $500,000 to the birth mother. The room went so quiet, I could hear the baby's soft breathing. $500,000? Mom whispered. Plus attorney fees, Louis added helpfully. Otto was still staring at his phone. This can't be legal. It's completely legal. Kiara's a lawyer. She knows how to write an airtight contract. She's a criminal defense lawyer, Dad exploded. She defends drug dealers and drunk drivers. I also do contract law, I said. Surprise. Delilah suddenly lunged toward the bed. Give me my baby. The security guards moved fast, but not before she got close enough to grab at the blanket. My daughter started crying, and something primal and fierce rose up in me. Don't you dare touch her! She's mine. I picked out her clothes. I decorated her nursery. I chose her name. You chose a name for a baby you were never going to raise. What are you talking about? Of course I was going to raise her. Really? You were going to get up for 2 a.m. feedings, change diapers, deal with teething and tantrums and sleepless nights? Yes. Or were you going to hire a nanny like you hire people to clean your house and walk your dog? Delilah's face crumpled. That's not... You would have what? Been a mother? You can't even take care of yourself. That's enough, Dad said coldly. Security, remove these people from my daughter's room. Your daughter? The security guard looked confused. Which daughter? Both of them are my daughters. Actually, Lewis interjected, according to hospital policy, only the patient can authorize visitors, and she's asked you to leave. Shara, Mom's voice turned pleading, please, think about what you're doing. This will destroy our family. Our family was destroyed a long time ago. I'm just making it official. But Sierra's college fund will be fine. Better than fine, actually. I smiled. The trust fund I mentioned, it's not just for the baby. There's a separate education fund for Sierra. Full ride through her PhD if she wants it. Sierra, I hadn't even told her what I was planning. She was going to be shocked, but I hoped she'd understand. You planned this, Otto said, his voice full of dawning horror. You planned this whole thing. I planned to protect my daughter from people who see children as accessories. We don't see children as accessories. Really? Then why did you spend more time planning the baby shower than asking how I was feeling? Why did you bring a photographer to the birth? Why have you referred to her as your baby for 9 months without once acknowledging that she was growing inside me? Silence. That's what I thought. Dr. Martinez stepped forward. I really do need to insist that everyone leave except the patient. She needs rest, and the baby needs to nurse. Nurse? Delilah looked stricken. But I bought formula. Special organic formula. Breast milk is better, I said simply. But I can't breastfeed. No, you can't. The security guards were getting impatient. Ma'am, we need you to come with us now. This isn't over, Dad said as they escorted him toward the door. You think you've won, but there will be consequences. There already have been consequences. 31 years of them. We gave you everything, Mom cried. A good home, education, opportunities. You gave me a roof over my head and a constant reminder that I wasn't good enough. That's not true, isn't it? Name one time, one single time, you told me you were proud of me. Mom opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. As they were led out, Delilah turned back one last time. What are you going to name her? I looked down at my daughter, who had stopped crying and was looking at me with those serious dark eyes. Grace, I said. Her name is Grace. Grace what? I met Delilah's gaze steadily. Grace Underwood, my daughter. The door closed behind them, leaving me alone with Lewis, Dr. Martinez, and my baby girl. Well, Lewis said, settling into the chair beside my bed. That went better than expected. Better? Nobody threw anything. I laughed, surprising myself. Give them time. Dr. Martinez checked my vitals and the baby's, then left us alone. Lewis pulled out his phone. I should probably call Sierra. She's going to want to know she has a new cousin. A new cousin with a very generous education fund. You really thought of everything, didn't you? I looked down at Grace, who was starting to fuss. I thought of her. And now we figure out how to be a family. The hospital room door burst open at 6 a.m. I was nursing Grace when Dad stormed in, followed by Mom, Delilah, Otto, and a man in an expensive suit I didn't recognize. "This is harassment," I said, not looking up from my daughter. "Visiting hours don't start until 8. "We're not visiting," the stranger said. "I'm Richard Blackwell, attorney for the Underwood family. We're here to discuss your illegal contract." "There's nothing illegal about it." Dad slammed a thick folder on my bedside table. 47 pages of fraud and deception. 47 pages you signed without reading. "Because we trusted you." Mom's eyes were red and swollen. "We're your family." "Family doesn't blackmail each other with college tuition." Blackwell opened his briefcase. "Ms. Underwood, my clients are prepared to offer you $50,000 to honor the original intent of this agreement. The original intent was surrogacy. Mission accomplished." I gestured to Grace. I was the surrogate. She was born. Contract fulfilled. "You know that's not what they meant." "I know exactly what they meant. They meant for me to be a rental womb and then disappear. Unfortunately for them, that's not what they contracted for." Delilah stepped forward, her face blotchy from crying. "Ciara, please, I'm begging you. I can't have children. This was my only chance." "Your only chance for what? To have a baby you could show off at the country club?" "To be a mother." "Being a mother isn't about biology, Delilah. It's about showing up. And you've never shown up for anyone in your life." Otto pulled out his checkbook. 100,000. Cash. "Not interested." 200,000. Still not interested. "What do you want?" Dad demanded. "Money, property, name your price." I looked at each of their faces. Desperate, angry, entitled. "I want you to read the contract you signed." "We've read it now," Blackwell said, "and we're prepared to challenge its validity." "On what grounds?" "Fraud, misrepresentation, unconscionable terms, none of which apply." Lewis appeared in the doorway. "Good morning, everyone. I see we're having an impromptu legal conference." "This contract is unconscionable," Blackwell repeated. "Is it? Let's see." Louis pulled out his own copy. "The Underwood family approached my client requesting surrogacy services. They offered compensation of $25,000 plus medical expenses. My client countered with a comprehensive agreement that included a trust fund for the child's welfare and education. They agreed to all terms and signed voluntarily." "They didn't understand what they were signing. Are you suggesting your clients are mentally incompetent?" Blackwell's jaw tightened. "Of course not." "Then they're responsible for contracts they sign. Basic contract law." "The trust fund requirement is extortionate." "The trust fund requirement ensures the child's welfare, something loving grandparents should appreciate." Dad was reading through the contract again, his face getting redder by the page. "This section here, it says if we don't establish the trust fund within 30 days, Kira gets full custody and we get nothing." "That's correct. And if we challenge the contract, we forfeit all parental rights and owe her $500,000. Also correct." "This is extortion." "This is consequences," I said, shifting Grace to my shoulder to burp her. "Something you never taught me growing up." Mom sat down heavily in the chair. "How could you do this to us? How could I do this to you? How could you do this to me? You spent my entire life making me feel worthless, then tried to use me as a baby factory." "We never made you feel worthless." "Really? Let's recap. Thanksgiving 2019. You introduced me to your friends as our daughter who's still single. Christmas 2020. You asked if I was gay because I hadn't brought a man home. Easter this year. You told Aunt Margaret that at least Delilah gave you hope for grandchildren. We were just concerned about your happiness. No, you were concerned about your image. Having an unmarried, childless daughter reflected poorly on your parenting." Delilah was crying again. "But I love her already. I've been planning her whole life." "You've been planning a fantasy. You don't love her. You love the idea of her. That's not true. Prove it. What's her blood type? Delilah blinked. What? Her blood type. If you love her so much, you must know basic medical information. That's not important. It's O negative. She'll need special blood products if she's ever injured. What about allergies? I'm allergic to penicillin. Is she likely to inherit that? How would I know that? Because if you actually cared about her welfare instead of your image, you would have asked. Otto stepped forward. We can learn all that stuff. Can you? When? Between your business trips and golf games and charity galas? We'll make time. Like you made time for doctor's appointments? I went to every single one alone, except the ones where you showed up to get ultrasound pictures for your social media. That's not fair, Delilah protested. I had commitments. And now you have the biggest commitment of all. Except you don't, because she's not yours. Blackwell tried a different approach. Ms. Underwood, think about the child's best interests. She deserves a stable two-parent home. She has a stable home. With me. A single mother working long hours as a lawyer? How is that better than a married couple with financial resources? Because I actually want her. Not the idea of her. Not what she represents. Her. Grace chose that moment to spit up on my hospital gown. Without thinking, I cleaned it up and kept talking. See that? That's what parenting looks like. Messy, unglamorous, constant. Are you ready for that, Delilah? Delilah looked at the spit up with obvious disgust. Yes, of course. Are you ready for sleepless nights? Diaper blowouts? Teething screams at 3 a.m.? I'll hire help. There it is. I looked at everyone in the room. She'll hire help, because actually raising a child is beneath her. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. You want a baby, not a child. You want the cute photos and the congratulations and the status of being a mother, but you don't want the work. Dad's voice was dangerously quiet. You think you've won, but this isn't over. Yes, it is. I met his gaze steadily. You made it clear my whole life that I'd never be good enough for this family. Congratulations. Now I don't have to be, and neither does she. There will be consequences, he said. There already are consequences. You lost a granddaughter. You lost a daughter. You lost any chance of being part of Grace's life. We'll see about that. No, you won't. Because if you come near us again, if you harass us, if you try to interfere with our lives in any way, I'll file restraining orders and sue you for the full $500,000 penalty. Blackwell gathered his papers. This isn't over, Miss Underwood. Yes, it is. As they filed out, Delilah turned back one last time. I would have been a good mother. Maybe. But you'll never get the chance to find out. The door closed behind them, leaving me alone with Grace and the quiet beeping of hospital monitors. Well, baby girl, I whispered, kissing her forehead, it's just you and me now. She looked up at me with those serious dark eyes, and I swear she understood. Grace was 6 months old when Sierra knocked on my apartment door at 10 p.m., holding a bottle of wine and looking shell-shocked. They cut me off, she said without preamble. I bounced Grace on my hip while she babbled at her favorite stuffed elephant. What do you mean, cut you off? College funding, gone. Dad called the bursar's office today and withdrew all financial support. Sierra collapsed onto my couch. I'm supposed to drop out or find another way to pay for grad school. Because of me. Because you had the audacity to keep your own child. Sierra's voice was bitter. Apparently, I'm guilty by association, since I didn't try to talk you out of it. Grace reached for Sierra, making her happy baby noises. Sierra took her automatically, and Grace immediately grabbed a handful of her hair. I'm sorry, I said. I knew there would be fallout, but I didn't think... Don't apologize. You did what you had to do. Sierra made faces at Grace, who giggled. Besides, I have news. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. I got a call from Louis this afternoon. Something about an education fund? I grinned. Surprise. Ciara, what did you do? I made sure my daughter's cousin could finish school without owing anything to people who use money as a weapon. Ciara stared at me. How much money are we talking about? Enough. Full tuition, room and board, plus a stipend for living expenses. Through your PhD if you want it. But how? Remember that trust fund clause in the contract? The one they had to fund within 30 days? Or lose all rights to Grace? They actually funded it. They had no choice. It was either pay up or forfeit any legal claim to her forever. Even Dad's not stupid enough to throw away $2 million out of spite. Ciara was quiet for a moment, processing. $2 million. Plus the education fund, plus penalties if they try to interfere with our lives. They're going to be furious. They already are furious. The question is, what are you going to do about school? Ciara looked down at Grace, who was trying to eat her bracelet. I'm going to finish my degree, and I'm going to send them a thank you card every semester, just to remind them what they lost. That's my girl. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. I put it on speaker. Ciara? It's Mallory. Delilah's friend Mallory? Yeah, listen, I probably shouldn't be calling, but I thought you should know. Delilah and Otto are getting divorced. Ciara raised her eyebrows. I shifted Grace to my other hip. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you, though? Mallory's voice was sharp, because word around town is that you planned this whole thing, that you never intended to give them the baby. Word around town is usually wrong. Is it, though? Because Delilah's been telling everyone who'll listen that you're a sociopath who destroyed her marriage and ruined her life. And what do you think? Mallory was quiet for a moment. I think Delilah's been living in a fantasy world where everything revolves around her, and reality finally caught up. That's surprisingly insightful. I've known her since college. She's always been like this. Everything has to be about her. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to look good on Instagram. Otto's the same way. They were never going to actually raise a kid. They were going to hire people to raise a kid while they took credit. So why are you calling me? Because I wanted to apologize for what I said at the baby shower about you not being the maternal type. I was wrong. I looked at Grace, who was now trying to grab my earring. Thanks. Also, I wanted you to know, not everyone thinks you're the villain in this story. Some of us think you're the hero. After Mallory hung up, Ciara and I sat in comfortable silence, while Grace played with her toys on the floor. Do you ever regret it? Ciara asked. The way it all went down? Which part? Any of it. All of it. I watched Grace stack blocks with intense concentration, her little tongue poking out in focus. I regret that it had to happen at all. I regret that they forced me into a position where this was the only way to protect her. But I don't regret protecting her, even if it means losing the family. Ciara, I lost that family a long time ago. I just finally stopped pretending I hadn't. My phone buzzed with a text from Lewis. Trust fund officially established. All legal requirements met. You're officially untouchable. I showed Ciara the message. Untouchable, she repeated. I like the sound of that. Me too. Grace crawled over to us, pulling herself up on the couch and babbling what sounded suspiciously like, Mama. Did she just, Ciara started. Mama, Grace said clearly, looking right at me. My heart stopped. Her first word. Mama, she said again, reaching for me. I picked her up and she patted my face with her tiny hands. That's right, baby girl, Mama. Ciara was crying. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Better than any family dinner I ever attended. Speaking of which, Ciara wiped her eyes, I should probably tell you. They're planning something for Christmas. Some kind of intervention to get you to come to your senses. Let them plan. They have no power over me anymore. None at all? I looked around my apartment, small but cozy, filled with baby toys and law books and the sound of Grace's laughter. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was the life I'd chosen, the life I'd fought for. None at all, I confirmed. Grace babbled something that might have been Sierra and reached for her cousin. Sierra took her, and Grace immediately started playing with her necklace. You know what the best part is? Sierra said. What? They taught you the meaning of family by showing you everything it shouldn't be. So you built your own. I looked at Sierra holding my daughter, both of them laughing at some private joke only babies and college students understand. My chosen family. My real family. Yeah, I said. I built my own, from the ashes they left behind. Grace clapped her hands like she approved of the plan, and maybe she did. After all, she was the smartest person in the room.